Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2019 Jeep Cherokee and we're going to be taking a look at and I'm going to show you how to install the Demco Air Force One supplemental braking system for flat towing. When you're flat towing your Jeep Cherokee down the road, you're going to have some way of applying the brakes in the Cherokee when you're towing it down the road behind your RV. You can think of it a lot like having brakes on a trailer. Once you get above a certain weight capacity in your specific state, once you get above a certain weight capacity for those trailers, you're going to have brakes on them. That is no different for flat towing a vehicle behind an RV. This vehicle is a lighter vehicle, but it still weighs a couple thousand pounds, and you have to have some sort of way of applying the brakes. The way that the Air Force One system is going to do that is it's going to use an air signal from your motorhome. If you don't have air brakes on your motorhome, you're not going to want to use this kit. You're going to want to use the Demco Stay and Play Duo. That is designed for motorhomes with electric over hydraulic brakes, but the main operating unit is going to work very, very similar. It's going to apply an air signal to a cylinder down on your brake pedal in your Cherokee and pull the brake pedal towards the firewall, bringing the vehicle to a slow and safe stop behind your motorhome. With this particular system, it is going to be a more permanently installed system. If you're not looking for something like this, you can look into the portable systems that we have on our website. I recommend the Blue Ox Patriot. That is just going to be a box that sits down into the footwell of your driver's side. It'll use the front side of your driver's seat to push against, and it'll push the brake pedal just as if your foot was doing it. I personally prefer these more permanently installed ones because if you're doing a lot of starting and stopping, which people do, especially if you're full-time, I don't want to have to set up that braking system in the footwell of my driver's side every time I go to flat tow my vehicle. With this particular system, you don't even have anything you have to turn on. All you have to do is plug in the air chuck on the front of the vehicle and plug in your 6-pole plug. That's it. There's nothing to turn on this system. Once you plug it into your coach, it knows that the system is on and it'll get that air signal when you're headed down the road. This kit's also going to come with an air chuck that goes on the front of your vehicle, and when you're not using it, you'll simply pull this fitting, and then all you're going to be left with is that little stinger there on the front of your vehicle. Your motorhome is also going to have one, and that's how you connect the two. For the motorhome side of things, you are going to have to tap into the main supply line and your metered air. And for this particular portion, the RV side of it, I would highly recommend using our dealer locator and finding an RV dealer near you that can do that side of it, because it's very, very difficult. Even us doing it here all the time, sometimes it's very difficult to find the correct lines to tap into, and the spaces that you have to crawl into in order to get to the lines is very, very hard. So if nothing else, I recommend having an RV dealer or somebody like that do the RV side of it, and then you can tackle the vehicle side at your own home. You should be able to save a little bit on labor doing it that way. In this particular portion, we're going to show you how to do that today. I'd say probably the hardest part about the Air Force One, getting it installed on your Cherokee, is going to be routing everything. The spots of where everything mounts up, the breakaway switch you're going to get, it's mounted down on the front of the bumper. That's not super difficult to mount up. I highly recommend the Roadmaster Direct Connect base plate. It's going to have a spot where you can mount your breakaway switch to and your 6-pole plug. The air chuck that goes on the front, I just screwed to the underside of our bumper using a couple of spacers, and it worked out perfect. We showed you where we put the main operating unit on top of the fuse panel and then the stuff in the floorboard of our driver's side. That's it. Everything else is just running wires and hoses. And that's why I really think you could do this portion on your own at your house. With that being said, if you feel confident in doing it yourself, follow along with the rest of this video and we'll get yours installed too. To begin our installation, we're going to have to get some of our components mounted up. That way we can just do our wiring and our hoses to get them all up and running. First thing we mounted up is going to be our breakaway switch. The base plate we have here worked out really nice. It's a Roadmaster base plate. It has a tab on it for the breakaway switch to mount to. I highly recommend it. Our brake cylinder we mounted to the side of our brake pedal. We mounted it on the right side. That way we can mount it to the firewall with the included bracket. You just want to use 3 self-tapping screws, tap it right into the firewall, and that gives us a good solid point for the cable to pull against. The next component that we're going to mount up is going to be our main operating unit. This you can mount in a couple different places. Some people will mount it to this ridge up here. They'll just use self-tapping screws, tap it in there. I don't like doing that because these are both plastic. This, you might be able to get a good hold on it. I just don't feel confident in it. I like to mount it to the top of the fuse panel lid here because it's going to be a nice steady hold, and then if you ever need to get in here, you can just lift this up, check your fuses, whatever, and then pop it back down into place. What we are going to do, since we mounted it to this, we had to drill some holes in each side and then just ran zip ties underneath it. As you can see here, we just ran zip ties through it. We're going to take some black silicone and put it on the insides of these holes so that it is protected from any water invasion. Now we've got our main components mounted up, we need to start making our connections. The first thing that I did was I tied our air lines in. You want to run the air out is going to come out of here and go in through the firewall. We found a grommet down by the floorboard. It's real close to where we mounted up our brake cylinder to the firewall. It's just to the left of that. You just poke a hole, run this through. I recommend running your power wire into there when you're doing that, because you're going to need to run this to your coach link once you get inside. The air in is going to go down and around. I just ran that down to the bumper. And then you're going to have two black wires that are coming out of our main operating unit. One of them is going to come over, and I'm just going to ground it right here to the body of our vehicle. That's going to ground our whole unit. And then the other one needs to get hooked to the black wire on our breakaway switch, which we still need to run up here. Now we've got our breakaway switch wires run up here. You just kind of run them loosely along the base plate. We're going to zip tie those up later on once we get everything connected and we know it's working. We've got them up here. Unfortunately, we did have to extend it just a little bit. The black wire we had to extend about 12 inches to be able to get to this black wire, and then our orange wire we also extended with another black wire. We're going to tie that in with our red wire here, and then that will go to our fuse connector to the positive post of our battery. So we can get the black wire hooked up. We got another heat shrink butt connector on here. I highly recommend using heat shrink butt connectors for all of these connections, because they're all going to be out under the engine bay and exposed to some sort of moisture, but just, you can use the ones that come in your kit too. I just don't like using them under the hood. Now in our engine bay, one of the last things we need to hook up to our Air Force One is going to be our vacuum line. We got to tie into the brake booster from our vehicle. You can see here I've got our, this is our factory line and this is our factory line. We've got the T tied into our factory line. That will go to a check valve with the black side facing the operating unit. And then over on the remainder of the line that goes down to the engine, you'll want another check valve that the black side is going to the engine side. What we need to do here is we'll take another little section of hose, we'll connect that up, we're going to connect this up to the T, like that, and then we'll take our little section of hose here and connect that to the part going to the main operating unit. Here in the footwell of our vehicle, we've got to make a couple of wiring connections. I've already made them, so I can just show you which ones they are. From our wireless coach link, we're going to have a white and a red wire. The white wire needs to go to a ground source, and we just used a little jumper wire and then grounded it to the firewall. Which you can see here, I just used a little ring terminal, tapped it right into the firewall. The red wire needs to go to the blue wire on our Demco Air Force One. It's pre-wired with a little fitting on there, so you just crimp it on. The brown wire from our reed switch on our Air Force One cylinder needs to go to a 12-volt source out in the engine bay. And that is the one that we're going to pigtail tie into. We'll show you that next. That will get tied into the battery along with the orange wire on our breakaway switch. Now back out in our engine bay, you'll see that red wire I was talking about that we ran on the inside of the footwell. We've got it pulled out. We had just ended up pulling that out when we ran our airline out, so we just tied it off to the airline, pushed it out through the hole. Now it's tied in with this is a black wire, but it is tied into the orange wire from our breakaway switch. You want to tie both of those into your fuse holder, connect your fuse holder without the fuse in it, and then once you've got it all in place, we're going to take our fuse and pop that in. we are going to have the motorhome side to do. If your motorhome has a Freightliner chassis, there's a good chance that it may have the Freightliner the kit pre-installed on it. There's a Spartan chassis that also has a kit for it. Just check if you have an air fitting at the back of your coach, chances are this kit can work with it. You just have to get the correct umbilical cord to go from the coach to the front of your truck. But I've already got ours installed because it is extremely difficult to see under there. It's very difficult to get it installed too, so we'll come up here and we'll take a look at it. So if you're doing this yourself, what you need to do is you need to come underneath your coach and find the air distribution center. So you can see we've got airlines going what seems everywhere. You're going to want to look for a green line. It's a very, very thick line. You want to tap into it. It does help if your motorhome is off, you hit the brakes a bunch of times until you can't really hear the air pulsating anymore. You want to take that an airline tubing cutter, cut this tube, and then you're going to slide this big fitting in, and it's a push to connect fitting just like on all our other airlines on this system. Put this T fitting in, and then you'll have a hose that comes out of it, and we'll show you where it goes on our tank later on. Right here is our metered air. So the green one was our air supply. That's our main air. The little black one here is our metered air. A good hint for you is that these fittings are only going to fit certain hoses under here. So it gives you a good idea of which ones it's going to be. But the metered air, you can tell it's coming out of that distribution box up there, and it's coming down into this box. So it's already metered from the coach. We want to take that. There'll be an airline that comes out of that and also goes to our tank. So on our tank side now, you can see there's two fittings on this side and there's going to be one on the other. This fitting right here, you want to put the metered airline into that. So we've got our little airline coming down from our metered air T fitting. That goes into this fitting. This fitting is for the supply line going back to the back of the coach. So we'll show you the route that we took to get it back there. And then on the other side of our tank, that is where our main supply comes in. So the whole system kind of works. Main supply comes in, it's going to fill this tank up. The metered air will still be, it'll still be metered from the coach, and then it goes out to the back of the coach with this hose right here. As far as mounting your tank up, what I always recommend is look for a couple of bolts like this that are mounted up already. It really doesn't matter where you put this tank or how far you put it from the metered air and stuff. You just want to make sure you have enough airline to do it. But these two bolts were already here. They're holding this bracket on for this distribution center here. So all I had to do was just take these two nuts off and the washers, slide our tank bracket up, and then put that hardware back on. What I really like about this bracket that they give you from your kit is that it's going to have lots of different types of holes in it. It's going to have little round holes, it's going to have slotted holes, and you can see I was able to use one round hole and one slotted hole to get this mounted up. Now, as far as getting that airline run to the back of the coach, you just want to follow along with some existing wiring or some hoses, zip tie it as often as you can, and you want to make sure that you stay away from anything hot or moving. But as far as the coach side, this is going to be the easiest part of this install, is just running that hose all the way to the back of the coach. Once we've got our airline run back here, I usually like to put a big soft loop in it in case you ever have to fix something or make a new cut. And then you want to take the fitting that goes on the back of your coach. It's going to be the female fitting. You just take the bolts and washers and nuts that come with your kit, drill right up into this fiberglass. The nice part about this fiberglass is it's very, very stiff on these coaches, so you can drill right up into it. If you've got a bracket or something back here that you want to bolt this to, like we could have bolted it right here or in a different place on the coach, but if you have a better place to put it, you can definitely do that. This has just always worked really, really well for us. Once you've got everything installed, go ahead and start your coach, build the air pressure back up into the coach because we just emptied it all to install the system. Build the pressure back up, shut the coach off, and then we'll come back with some soapy water, and we're going to spray all these fittings to make sure that we don't have any air leaks. Well guys, hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the Air Force One supplemental braking system is right for you in your 2019 Jeep Cherokee.